where do you stand with respect to any sort of shared governance or executive power sharing, so that the country can manage the resources collectively? At least that's what some people want.
I have no problem with shared governance, but don't forget, shared governance is part of what is consociational democracy. And there are various types of shared governance. So to just say shared governance, for instance, you can do weighted majority voting, meaning that if you're going to pass a measure, it has to have a certain percentage of the opposition, a certain percentage of the government. And that is a good mechanism to ensure that there is compromise and consensus. But people tend to restrict power sharing to sharing of government positions. There are a number of approaches to shared governance. I embrace shared governance as a concept, but will be very meticulous as it comes to which one of the systems of shared governance we will use, or if we will come up with a hybrid, a kind of an eclectic approach where we pull from.
Thank you.
Mr. Norton, can we have a photo with your finger, please?
I didn't even remember it.
Mr. Norton, for persons who haven't voted, just share with them how important is it for them to vote.
Well,
Can you show us your finger?
in the first case, when you do not vote, you are going to allow people to make decisions for you without your input. And so the first thing I would say to young people is look at the manifestos, look at the policies, and then make a decision as to where to vote. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say to young people, that if you become estranged from the political process, you will not be able to impact it. Our slate had a plethora of youths who have impact our manifesto and the decisions we would have made. So for me, it's a critical element of democracy for people to vote. But remember, democracy has two elements. One is procedural. This is procedural. Then there is the substantive. After you get government, how you govern, the governance issue. And I would say to young people, you have to look at both possibilities and vote in a way to reassure yourself that those who come to power will really and truly make democracy substantive rather than the parochial thing we got here, in which there's clearly straight elements of authoritarianism and dictatorship, and that cannot be in consonance with democracy.
One more time with your finger, sir. One more
One
time
more.
with your finger.
Is it your phone in good or you?
And this sort of both places.
I never put it high. That's it.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. You heard him there. And as you know, Mr. Aubrey Norton could easily be the next president, and we were hopeful of this cooperative oil producing republic of ours. And the team have been advising folks to get out there and vote resoundingly. Of course, you know, for who. That being said, folks, I want to touch base with some of the folks here in the mining town of Linden, where we are, and then we're going to talk to some other folks elsewhere as well, at least one other person elsewhere outside of the mining town of Linden. Let us take you now to the regional chairman, Deron Adams, and also we're going to talk just after Deron. I think we're going to you're going to hear from the mayor, and both of them voted early here this morning. Folks, as I say, share the live for us so that as many persons as possible get the valid and credible information. Smash that emoji button for us as well. Deron Adams, the chairman of Region 10, and also Sharma Solomon, His Excellency, the mayor of Linden here. Mr. Chairman, you've just emerged from the polling place. You've casted your ballot, no doubt. How was the experience for you?
All right, good morning, Sherrod and members of the media, NCN. Generally, voting appears to be smooth. I had no hiccups. I observed the process. I think at Mackenzie High School here, if every other station across the country emulates what is happening here, we can see a possible smooth elections. You can't use your cell phones. There's a special desk there dedicated for persons to rest their phones. And so the agents and the GCOM staff are able to observe whether somebody may attempt to use such or so. But initially this morning, before coming here, I had to interact with the returning officers because there were some hiccups in terms of GCOM personnel not allowing certain agents into the polling place based on the color of their T-shirt that they were wearing. But the returning officer was quickly able to intervene and remedy that.
Are you hearing any reports of presiding officers who might not be turning up this morning? Or any GCOM staff?
Yeah, I haven't got any such reports in Linden. It appears as though all of the stations have been manned by GCOM staff here in Linden. I haven't gotten any such report.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
Is there any comparative difference between your experience today and back in 2020?
Not much of a difference. As I said, things appear to be going smoothly here. Persons are allowed to go in one at a time. You cast your vote. You are not allowed with your cell phone. You leave quietly, and the process was similar to that of 2020. All right, I hope that it continues like this throughout the day. I ask that our people remain vigilant. As you get closer to the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock hour, there's those who may try to create mischief, and so I ask that everyone remains vigilant during this entire process. Yeah.
The ink is not too visible. Let me just get a shot.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna likely get dark as you.
All right, thanks.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mrs. Holman, can you tell me what are your thoughts on the voting process so far?
This morning, I am most impressed of the voter turnout first. I think it's important that we see Guyanese prepared to exercise their franchise. I'm very impressed and encouraged by that. I want to encourage, however, more persons to come out and to ensure that they cast their ballots and to exercise their franchise. And the process itself, I know we had concerns when I went in terms of the positioning of the poll, the box, the area for persons to have their votes casted. We were concerned of the positioning persons in the cell phone matter. So those things were brought to the attention of the GCOM representative, and they've started to correct those things. So those were some of the things that we noticed, but otherwise than that, the process so far is okay.
Mr. Mayor, I know you've been touching base also some other polling stations. What is your general sense of those polling stations thus far? Maybe name a couple of them, the general area, a sense of how the voting is going.
I was at the 1 mile area. I'm responsible for that area. That's a very large area over the Wisma shore, and it represents one of the biggest constituency in round 8 and 6 and 5. And I want to say that we are prepped, our agents from the APNU, we have eyes on every one of our polling stations, at our polling places, and at every box. So we intend to stay vigilant on the process. I want to also commend those early voters. I want to respect our seniors. I saw many of them out, and let them know that we have all that is in place to get those who need to get to the polls. But so far, we've had a very good process.
All right. Now, my penultimate question is, a lot of folks seem to be streaming passes here this morning going into vote. Is that indicative of a perhaps an energized electorate?
Yeah, listen, our campaign was very well done. I want to commend the team that ran this campaign in Region 10. Very well efficient, effective. Our resource never meant anything that kept us from not performing. And it was reciprocal in what came from the people in their response to the message that was given. And they were very encouraged by our campaign message, the APNU, putting people first, putting people center, with our people-centered message. So I believe those approach, the way we attack the campaign and our message to the campaign, our presence in every community bringing our message directly to people helped tremendously to bring people to that level of consciousness of the importance of participating in this 2025 election. So we are encouraged of the response during the campaign, and we are certain for this election day, we will see that response in terms of the turnout.
Mr. Mayor, we always talk about protecting this baby that is a ballot in the process nationally. How do you feel about the national push?
Well, I'm glad you remember that process. It is indeed. In fact, we're not just protecting a baby, we're protecting twins. We've made that an exercise that we've adopted from local government elections. And why twins? Because we're now doing both general and regional elections. And we believe the importance of this election is one where we have to be that attentive, as you would have to any newborn or baby, because it is that precious, your vote and the APN, you intend to protect that vote. So we are with all the pieces in place to ensure that we do that. But we want you to know also how precious that vote is to first cast, and second, for us to preserve and protect. So at the end of this process, you can see exactly what that vote meant to the change of this country.
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for sharing this time with
No
us.
problem.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good, Chair.
All right. That's as I said. What more could we say on this subject matter? You were listening to Darren Adams, the chairman of Region 10, and His Worship, the mayor of Linden, the one and only Sharma Solomon. And as we wrap up this broadcast this morning, as we begin our coverage for today, we give you our vice presidential candidate, Ganesh Mahipal, who voted on the East Bank. Folks, take a look and take a listen. Vice presidential candidate Ganesh Mahipal.
Good morning, Guyana. I have fulfilled my civic duty, and that is to show up early and vote. And I encourage all of you to do same. I'm trusting that polling day would go smooth, but from what I see, I'm a bit worried because, for example, where I voted at Farm on the east bank of Demerara, the Farm Masjid, noticed that there are 7 polling stations in this polling place. What I'm a bit worried about is that all of the polling stations are under what seems to be a 20 by 20 tent, and there's 7 of them, one after the other. So all 7 you have cramped together. And I'm afraid that people will show up in their numbers, and there may be some confusion. I hope there isn't. But clearly, for me, the layout should have been a bit different so that there is space that exists for people to move around and so on. As much as many people may be aware, some may not be aware, but they have to go through the process of checking and ensuring that their names are on the list and which polling station they're required to vote at in this polling place. But notwithstanding that, do what you have to do correctly, vote wisely, and the consequences of your vote you will have to face, whether it's positive or negative, depending on how you vote. You can do like me and vote green so you will stay clean. Or you can go the other way if you so choose, but you'll have to face those negative consequences that comes with it. Thank you.
And welcome back. You are listening to Ganesh Mahipal, our vice presidential candidate who voted earlier on the East Bank, folks. We're going to leave it there for this broadcast. We're going to see you guys on the next one as we bring you guys another update. And we intend to bring you these updates throughout the day as we continue to post updates on our pages as well on our social media platforms broadly on Facebook and on YouTube as well. That's going to do it for us today. That's our time, and that's our broadcast from the Mackenzie High School here in Linden in Region 10. Stay safe.